immediate question, going into the middle of the point.
Sure.
I refer to your first book published in Hungary. That is, the Hungarian title was Awakening Soul.
Yes.
And always I see Daskalos. In your book you refer to Daskalos. In other book you refer that you were a direct pupil of Daskalos. And if you can share with us a little story, personal story with Daskalos, how he helped you, how impressed you, just a little personal.
Oh, I think there's a saying that when a student is ready, the teacher will appear and will draw them to them. And so this is what happened for me with Daskalos. It's a long story, but just to say that in 1990, I was searching for a better understanding of how to work with spirituality in psychology, in the field of healing, because I knew that in my own life I had experienced a great change in myself as a result of experiencing and finding my own inner light inside. So when that process took place, when I was 16 years old, it happened. One day I asked, there must be something better than all this, because I believe that we all know who we are, we just forget it. So once we are able to find the conditions to reactivate that memory, and this happened for me, stressful times, adolescent, difficult times for everyone, I think, that it came to me one night. I asked, and suddenly a light began to emerge from my heart, right in here, this area of my heart, like a big light bulb. And it kept becoming greater and greater, and it just consumed me, and it filled the room I was in my home, late one night. And it began to organize my direction in light. I didn't know what it was at the time. I didn't realize it was me, my soul. We don't even say my soul, but soul, because this is who we really are. So this feeling of soul grew within me over the years. I went to medical school, I did my psychiatric training, I met with a lot of people, and I saw how much suffering they were under, and I looked for the answer to this, because medicines weren't enough, drugs were not enough, talking was not enough, there was something more. But I didn't connect it with my own process, and it took a long time. But then finally in 1990, when I asked once again, more deeply, who am I and how can I use this? How can I understand this and make it available to people so they can heal their lives? Then, in a very strange manner, Daskalos came into my life. So when I visited him, and I visited him many times, he was always very kind, very human, very loving, and always saying, I knew you from another time. And we talked, and I don't talk about all those details now, but in a very nice way I would meet with him. And I do remember one incident, very important to me. I'm Greek by origin. My family is originally from Greece, although I was born in the States. And he said, why don't you come to one of my Greek lessons? I said, yeah, but my Greek is very rusty. I don't know so much. And he said, no problem, you'll understand. I said, how can I do that? How can I understand? So I went into the room, and then within a few moments, I was really understanding it, because I was taking it into my heart. I was taking it in another place in myself, not up here, but into this place that understands and knows directly. So after the lecture, I'm in the elevator with him, and he said, well, did you understand better? And I said, yes, possibly I did. And he said, how can that, and I asked him, how did that happen? He said, I just spread my energy light, my etheric vitality in the room, and you were a part of it. But what he meant is I spread my heart. And when I take you all into my heart, then you can understand. So slowly I began to understand that yes, that's the way. The heart is the way, and he was there to teach me that.
Thank you. It was a really big and very efficient answer. Yeah, the next question will be, why do you think that there are so many spiritual healing methods? why did you think that you need your own healing methods like the Etherikos resilience process? What is the difference in your process comparing to the others, and what kind of results can it give us?
Yes. So I have studied many methods, certainly not all of them. There are many out there. And there are many that are very fine. My own experience was that I needed to find some method and some approach that would help me bridge this spiritual dimension of our nature to our personality, to our outer life, to live life in a practical way, but with spirituality. And what I realized was that if I could find a bridge, that would make it possible. So Daskalos provided that for me. He gave me the inspiration to show me that there are two things in life that take us back home to our hearts and to God and help us live our lives in a fuller and satisfying way. And the first is to put yourself in relationship to a higher power. We need to do this in our own life in some way, through prayer, through meditation, through visualization, and so on. But the other thing that is equally as important is we must study ourselves. We must study our personality. He defined our personality as the total of all our negative and positive traits, which he called elementals. And so through this process, I created the ERP process, but with the important point that everything had to be brought back and had to come at the same time from the heart. This is the important thing. The fourth area is love, the divine love, our understanding of our relationship to the greater universe. The fifth area, our communication, how we communicate, how we listen. The sixth area is how we understand life, our reasoning process, our intellect, and also our intuition about life. And the seventh area, our purpose and our connection to the divine energy. So what happens is when the heart is not in charge, when this, which we call in Christianity, the Christ light, is not in charge. But the Christ light is not just in Christianity, it's in all religions, and it's on all people, whether they have a religion or not. This is the fascinating thing, is the Christ light is the light coming from your soul. So, do you need to be one religion or another? No. Just to recognize it's within you is enough. It's really enough. Your beliefs are fine, but your experience of who you are is much more important. So, this understanding, this gnosis, this self-knowledge that comes from the heart, organizes these 7 areas of our life. As we live our lives, when we have forgotten who we are, then these other energies, what Daskalos called, he says, we get caught in iron chains or golden chains. Now what are iron chains and golden chains? Let's take our survival life. If we are disconnected from the heart and our life around finances, money, home is out of order, it's not connected, then perhaps we fall into too little. We fall into poverty consciousness. We fall into the feeling of iron chains. Oh, if I only had this, if I only had what other people have, this is what I'm missing. And it becomes an obsession, I would do anything for that. I would do anything for money. I would do anything for wealth. Maybe I will destroy myself, my body. I will kill. I will do whatever. That's an iron chain when we're disconnected from the heart's understanding and we're only living out of survival, but out of poverty. The other side, the golden chains, look what I have, look who I am, look at my power, look. But yet, we are disconnected from ourselves, and we have given everything to our material belongings. What about in the second center, the emotional, sexual, passionate center? I don't have a relationship, poor me, what's wrong with me, I can't keep anyone. Go iron chains, golden chains, look, I can have anyone I want, I'm all powerful, I don't care, everyone's an object. Look how great I am. You see what I'm saying? Or in work, no work, poor me, or I have the great job, I'm in power, I can use everyone, I can manipulate, golden chains, iron chains. These are all illusions. They are all illusions about what we really need to learn, which is about love. If we come back to our heart consciousness, everything comes into order. Everything comes because we are now being guided by a higher source that shows us the proper balance of everything in our lives. And then everything comes into balance. Do you know the story of the Garden of Eden, Adam and Eve? In a way, this story about Adam and Eve are in the garden. They, the snake gives them the apple and they eat it and they desire this and they come into existence and they come into pain and suffering and everything. In a way, this story is about when we go away from this paradise, this heart, which has the peace, the harmony, which sees all things with that feeling of this is Eden, this is a good place. So when we went away from this, then we go into leaving the Garden of Eden and all the suffering and pain and addiction and everything that comes with it. So when we return, we can begin to see that life can be good. How do we establish this healing connection again? One can say, oh, this is very well and good, I understand, but now what do I do? How do I fix it? Well, Daskalos made it very clear. He said we must study ourselves. This is our task in life. What do we study? We study our personality, our likes, our dislikes, our desires, our thoughts, our beliefs, what he called our elementals. By elemental, he defined this as our thought-emotion complexes. Thoughts and emotions, our desires and our thoughts that are governed by the desires, negative or positive. And by doing so, we begin to break the iron chains and golden chains so that we can begin to see who we really are. And so we must begin by taking the inner journey and make corrections within ourselves of these energies we speak of through techniques we offer. We offer these in the ERP training. And by doing so, we then attract better things in our life. Let me share a little bit about how elemental works. Perhaps people might be interested, both negative and positive, so they can understand this dynamic. Let's take a negative elemental. Let's take the development of, say, anger. All right? Many people angry in the world, you read the news, you see it. So, how would this elemental develop, this thought emotion develop? All right, say the first step is what we call to be attacked by an elemental. It means we're minding our own business and maybe we're there driving our car and we are a little stressed and we haven't slept so well and the car passes us quickly and we get a little upset, a little angry. Normally we would let it go. But say we dwell on it, we think about it. Then we move from this first stage, which is attack, to the second stage, which is dialogue. We begin to dialogue with this within ourselves. Oh, this reminds me of my boss. Oh, this reminds me of my partnership. And that's called dialogue. We're literally talking to ourselves, but we are feeding this anger energy, and we don't realize it. Our good life energy, giving it to this anger. The third step would be we begin to think of how we're going to let it come into the world. We say, I'm going to go tell my boss what I really think of them. Or I will tell my partner, blah, blah, blah. So you go and you let it out. You give birth to it. It's the third step, giving it birth in the world. This gives it even more power. The more you then do that, sooner or later, if you continue this without stopping, it grows in such a way that it cuts to the fourth stage, which is possession. It takes charge of you. This is violence. So irritation might be the first step. Starting to get frustrated, frustration, irritation, and then anger, the third step, and violence, the fourth step. So this is the creation of a negative elemental. What about a positive elemental? Perhaps one day you decide, I want to improve my life. I want to grow. I want a better life. I want something new. So as you ask that question, you're also opening your connection to the Holy Spirit. You're heard. Everyone is heard. Every thought we have is heard. Now, this could be embarrassing to some people, but it's true. But there's no judgment on it in the Holy Spirit. We swim in a sea of the Holy Spirit. We continue to exist no matter what we think, good or bad, because the Holy Spirit is impersonal. It's impartial. So, say we have a very good thought. This neutral energy suddenly says, okay, you want something good from me. So there's a divine idea, an inspiration, an intuition comes in your crown chakra. And you get this idea. And suddenly you start to see it. You start to imagine the possibilities. Now if you stop there, this would be the first stage, because your critic, your judge inside says, you can't do that, you can hardly make a living, you don't have enough money, you have to be home, you've got your children, then you forget it. Yeah? You don't think about it anymore. But that idea is going to stay with you, and it will be like a little bug that keeps coming back to you again and again until you begin to dialogue with it. So it moves from here to here in the first stage. In the second stage, it moves from here to here. You're dialoguing with it. You're saying, wow, I know it's not possible, but maybe it's possible, and I will do something with it. I will get on the internet. I want to start a new job. I'll get on the internet and check a new education program, perhaps, or something. Oh, you're dialoguing with it. Very interesting. So that's the second step. Then you find something, and you say, that's it, and I could do it. I could do this on the internet, because so much now is available. I could do my things at home, I could keep my job, but I would develop something new. At that point, you decide, second step is done. You say, third step, I'm going to do it. I'm going to register. Here you are, in your power center, your work center. You start moving with it and working with it. And you start building it, the third stage. And then finally, just like a baby is born, you give birth to it in the world out here, and it's here. You get the degree, you get a job, and so on. That's how it works, step by step, with the divine energy.
So at the beginning we started to talk about your coming seminar, evening seminar.
Yes.
Now we started to understand something about your method, something about your teaching, your connection, relationship with Daskalos and with the Spirit. What can people expect in this evening seminar if they come from you?
I think in the evening seminar we will clarify the 7 aspects of our being. We will give more examples. We will give some helpful practices that people can immediately use to begin healing themselves. And perhaps a meditation to contact the Holy Spirit through what Daskalos described as the holy archangels of the elements. So these are some of the things. And also to help people understand how to identify what problematic area of their life they're most struggling with, and offer some solutions, some very basic solutions that they, if they choose, they can continue to develop through reading the books or coming to the seminars.
If somebody liked the seminar, like your evening seminar, and would like to go on this path, what you offer them, what kind of other seminars can you offer?
Yes.
people here in Hungary.
Of course, we have a number of seminars available. For beginning level, we have a seminar on basic spiritual healing, which follows the practices and principles of Daskalos. And in this seminar, people learn how to perceive the Holy Spirit's energy, how to work with colors and visualization, and how to create positive elementals, how to work with the process for positive elementals we were speaking about. And in this first seminar, the very foundation is to help them awaken their heart energy, to start the process, because we know that there are many trainings that work with different aspects of spirituality and mental control and so on. But if the heart is not the first part of the healing and awakening, then the other areas don't follow so well in balance. So an ego tends to grab these other areas of expertise we develop, like the mind or certain emotions or, abilities to create things and so on. So with the heart as the foundation of the Etherikos training, that begins the process that then develops all the other abilities. And Daskalos spoke of this. I will tell you a story. Yeah. So I'm with Daskalos one day, and he is painting because he loved to paint for a hobby. Paint the beautiful nature of the island of Cyprus and with the colors of the archangels and so on. So one day I went to him and I said, Daskali, I want to know about my past lives. I'm ready to know about my past lives. And he just listened and he continued painting. Why do you want to know about your past lives? Why? Well, I would like to know who I was. Maybe I could heal myself better. He said, no. If you want to learn about your past lives out of curiosity, to build your ego, to make you think I was this and that in the past and now I'm... He said, it's not important. He said, but if you wish to learn in order to learn to love yourself and others more and to serve with love, then it would be fine. So start with your heart. This is the core of the Etherikos spirited training, is to awaken the heart, to awaken the soul. Once this is done, the various techniques we use to develop a healing for the personality, there are many techniques. In fact, any technique would work because it's not a technique that does it. And this is one of the difficulties that some spiritual trainings get into, is that when the heart is not the primary foundation, then the technique becomes more important. And that becomes a mental process which leads to a kind of wall. It can only go so far. It is helpful. There's no doubt that mind control, mind training is a step on the path. There's no doubt about it. But it will hit a wall, or it will hit a place where people become rigid about their beliefs, like this is the only method, this is the only way to go, I am the only teacher, da 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 da. And so suddenly ego becomes the process, as opposed to the humility that comes with understanding your relationship to a higher power. So the first course we spoke about, the spiritual healing, based on the principles of Daskalos, learning visualization, using energy, opening the heart to the inner Christ-like. The second course is healing our childhood traumas, coming into a better relationship with ourselves and the child within us. The inner child is a kind of bridge between our personality and our soul. And once we heal this inner child, we can reestablish our peace, our joy, our happiness, our spontaneity for life, our enjoyment of life.
Sérült valamilyen formában lelki.
And then from there we have other courses. There's a training program, which is a certification in transpersonal psychology and spiritual healing. This is available to people. It is basically a 3.5 year program. and it takes a deeper look at topics such as ancestral healing, past life therapy or regression therapy, working with the guilt and shame, because these are very big elementals that impact us and create low self-value in our lives. Then also male-female energy, the partnership issues, and also archetypes, the nature of archetypes and how they affect our lives. A number of the techniques we use in these processes involve contacting the different memories in ourselves through regression work and healing these through heart presence. We learn how to do sessions. You learn how to be a therapist, work with a client, and also receive. You do both in the seminars. And we also do constellations, which is a form of work that Bert Hellinger pioneered to help people get closer to what is going on and healing themselves, and so on and so on. There are a number of techniques, and very importantly, meditation practice. We really encourage people in meditation practice to contact the archangels, to contact the inner Christ light, to explore the inner dimensions of their being.
Perhaps some people might ask now, so where does your teaching come from? Where is this Etherikos teaching? What does the word Etherikos mean? Funny word, huh? Yeah. So in Greek, the word Etherikos, ethera, means subtle energy or of the etheric energy. This is the light body. And kos, K-O-S, is the island where Hippocrates had his first holistic healing sanctuary, which honored both the needs to heal the body, the emotions, the mind, and the spirit. And this is the same spirit that we work through. Now, Daskalos gave me a great deal of inspiration for the work I do, and told me that, I was to take this work and apply it in my field, and apply it in a way that suited the people that I work with. Because Daskalos was a firm believer that just as Jesus had his 12 disciples, not every disciple chose the exact path that Jesus taught in his teaching. There was John, who was more the mystic. There was Peter, who was more practical. There were others that had their own directions. So Daskalos would encourage everyone, because Daskalos would say, I am a brother guide to you. I'm not a guru. I'm a brother guide. I'm a friend. You take this and work with it according to your abilities and according to the needs of the people that come to you with love, because all of this is about love.
So we are now in your fourth book,
Okay.
that is published in the States.
Yes.
So far only in English, and we are expecting this book in Hungarian language as well very soon, maybe next year. And I would like to ask you to tell us some words about this.
Sure. This book came about through 12 years of work with seminar groups on the island of Patmos in Greece. Every year we do seminars in different parts of the world, but we always have some in Greece, and Patmos is one of our favorite places. And the inspiration for this came originally for me back in 1994 when I was going to write my first book, The Awakening of the Soul. And I was in Cyprus speaking to Daskalos, and I told him about my interest in writing a book about spirituality in medicine, in medical practice. And that I was going to the island of Patmos for just a few days, just to be in peace and quiet. And so he said, that's very good. He said, St. John will be with you from now on. So from that point on, I felt very much connected to the spirit of course, not only Daskalos, but St. John, and St. John's spirit connected to the Christ. So in a way, this formed a kind of lineage or a connection point through different teachers for me. And from this inspiration, I wrote this book. And this is about St. John's Revelation. Each of the verses I have interpreted in a metaphysical, spiritual way for the modern reader, because the original text is very, very esoteric and very hidden language. And so I'm trying to make sense of it for the reader. And I discuss in this book the various initiations spiritually that we go through in our journey back home to God's heart within us. And I use the Kabbalah. Many people are familiar with Kabbalah as a esoteric teaching. So I apply the principles of Kabbalah to the book of Revelation, and what I discovered is that it really speaks about, it is a Kabbalah. In my mind, it's a Kabbalah. And with this, I also talk about the evolution of the personality from stage to stage in the different initiations spiritually. So it's a kind of course book with people. They can learn and grow by doing the exercises, and the meditations will also be on the internet. And there are 2 volumes. The second volume will come out in English toward the end of the year. And I hope it will be available, at least the first volume in Hungarian next year. I failed to mention that in the second volume of this book that I have not decided quite yet, but I plan to put several of my dialogues with Daskalos in the back of the book, so that people can also have a taste of this as it relates to this material.
So thank you very much for a very
You're
good
most
and
welcome.
kind
Thank you.
atmosphere
Thank
you
you.
is talking. And if you have something to share finally, or
Just to leave the words that I wish everyone a good journey back home to God. And I am here, I believe, in this world to help support that journey for people. There are many that do, and I'm only one of many. I don't consider myself Daskalos, I'm Nick. I consider that Daskalos has inspired many, many people to carry on the work of the heart in this Christ light in their own way. I don't want to have people believe that I am the best one or the worst one or whoever. I am just one of many. And I'm happy to be. I'm grateful to have known Daskalos, and I'm grateful that I am in this world and that I have an opportunity to share and to share this inner inspiration I received in my own way. So thank you.